Sorry for the delay. I've had a busy morning and I finally have a few hours to myself now. So I figured I'd give some sort of update. I'm outside on my porch right now. Tate is in the room across from me, separated by only a glass sliding door. Harriet is here, and that means things are safer now. But something happened last night, and something worse this morning. I've been reading your feedback, and you all bring some good points to the table. I wouldn't be so quick to doubt a lot of them, but I think I can rule out any abuse from my mom or dad almost immediately. As for something supernatural, as outlandish as that sounds, there could be some merit to it. I've never really taken that into consideration. I'm sure there is some explanation, and since I'm not having much luck finding a summer job, with writing or otherwise, maybe I'll take on investigating this and documenting it on here as my summer writing job. Now, last night when I left off, I had felt Tate staring at me and seen a glint of light bounce off her eye through the small opening left from my closet door. Obviously, I was petrified, but I figured if I ignored her, there wasn't much else that she could do but stare. I usually don't go to bed until early morning, but I turned my laptop to the side and pretended to fall asleep around 10. I'm glad I decided to start documenting all of this when I did, because something new happened last night. After I had rolled over to sleep, I made sure my blanket covered half my face to make it harder to tell my eyes weren't fully shut. I decided to be brave and face my room rather than the wall. I had let morbid curiosity override my instinct to protect myself from seeing anything that could be objectively scary. After 20 minutes, the closet door swung open and Tate crawled out. Something about people crawling unsettles me. It looks innately threatening. It just seems out of the human norm. She wasn't crawling like a baby either. She was on her hands and feet, but low to the ground. I was watching her through hooded eyelids, so I was trying hard to stay focused on her without opening my eyes more than they already was. My room is pretty small, so it didn't take her too long to cross from my closet to my bookcase directly across from my bed. She has scoliosis, so the way she was positioned quickly reminded me of the mom's sister in Pet Sematary, which was one of the scenes that had scared me the most when I had seen it the first time as a child. I haven't slept a lot in the past few days, so that automatic association almost made me laugh, but I managed to keep quiet. She turned her head towards me for a moment before standing abruptly. I watched her double back to the other side of my room by the door and shut it. Well, not shut it, but push it closed as far as it could go. She let out a quiet sigh and backed herself into the far corner of the room by the door, and then she stopped. She stood in the corner and stared at me. She wasn't smiling, she was just staring at me, standing there completely still. This was easily the most unsettling thing she had done to date. The things she had been doing prior to this were scary, but this was sickening. There's something about being watched like that. It made my stomach turn. It felt threatening, and I felt ice shoot from my throat to my toes. This went on for about an hour. I cannot articulate the exact feeling, but I felt like I could die in that moment. Suddenly, she lurched out into the hall, leaving the door behind her. I sat up after I heard her door close, and I couldn't help but notice that my room was filled with that same putrid smell from before. I slept about 4 hours, and I woke up around 9 a.m. My mother had left for work, as had my father, so that just left my grandma, Tate, and me. I made my way downstairs, purposefully avoiding looking into Tate's room on my way. My grandma was holding a small bag when I saw her in the kitchen. "Good morning. What's in the bag?" "Oh, good morning. I was just coming to wake you up. I have to leave a bit early with Tate for her physical therapy, and after that I'll bring her back. Her aide should be here by then, but in the meantime I thought I'd pack up my car so I could go back home after I come back here with her." I nodded and slid into one of the wooden chairs at the table. I leaned on my hand and watched her bring Tate to the kitchen, and then out the door to her car before heading down the driveway. I got up and locked the door behind them. There was no way I was hungry for breakfast, so I grabbed a seltzer and was going to go upstairs to write an update on my laptop when I heard a knock on the front door. It was about 10 now, and as far as I knew, we weren't expecting anyone. I peered out the window and tried to see if I recognized the car or if someone was in my line of vision, but the car wasn't familiar, and I couldn't see anyone. I was wondering who it could be when a second round of knocks cut through the silence, and I finally went to see who it was. I opened the first door but kept the glass door shut. It was a woman who looked sort of familiar, but I couldn't quite place her. She smiled, and before I could get a word in, opened the second door and strode in like she owned the place. Shocked, I turned and quickly shut the door behind her. Excuse me?" She turned and looked at me like I had said something completely absurd to her. "Yes?" "Well, I mean, who are you? Why are you in my house?" I obviously could have reacted better and less like something out of a B-level movie, but keep in mind I was, and still am, running on about 8 hours of sleep between the past 48 hours. So my reaction time and thought processes haven't been on par with what they usually would be. "Anna, you're kidding. You've only been away for 8 months. I've known you for 10 years. That's when it started to come back to me. This was Tate's caseworker, Deborah. Holy shit, Deborah. I'm so sorry. She waved her hand. "Don't sweat it. Where's your mom?" I shrugged. "Probably work. She won't be home for another 4 hours or so. I'm sorry. Do you want to come back later? She's free for the day once she gets back." She shook her head and dismissed me with another wave of her hand. She set herself down in the chair I had been sitting at, pushing aside my breakfast of a single can of seltzer and dropping her bag in its place. She pulled out a blue folder full of papers. "This was going to be a quick visit anyways, just 20 minutes. I can ask you the questions I have for your mother." I nodded and sat in one of the other chairs, still a little frazzled by her having just strolled into my house like she did. But I guess she is close with my mom and is here a lot. But still. "So, this is just a routine thing. I'll ask you a few questions about Tate, you'll answer them, and I'll be on my way." She had a cheery tone in her voice that didn't match the tired look on her face. I nodded and waited for her to start. "So, has Tate been sick lately? Any signs of the flu or things along those lines?" "No, not that I'm aware of. She seems pretty healthy to me." "Well, I mean, Anna, she isn't healthy. I think we both know that." She looked up at me and smiled like she had just made a joke. I felt myself pull my eyebrows together in confusion. "What do you mean?" "She's disabled. She's sick. There's something wrong with her. There's only so many ways to say it." "You asked me about the flu, not her disability. Sorry, I guess I just misunderstood the question." I trailed off and stared at her harder this time. I do know who she is, but she doesn't look like anyone I know. I can see her in my memories, but at this point I just can't place her very well. I chalked it up to my shitty sleeping habits. "Just a few more and I'll be out of your hair." She tapped her pen against her folder and turned to me. "You have such beautiful hair. Do you mind?" She reached out towards my hair to touch it. "I guess, sure." I let her run her fingers through a section of my hair. She smiled and wrote something down on one of the papers in her folder. Looking back, I see how it is strange that she touched my hair and then wrote notes, but didn't write anything after I answered a question about Tate. "Okay, I just realized that I'm crunched for time, so I'll just ask you 2 more things and I'll be on my way." I nodded. "All right. Has Tate been calm lately? No screaming fits, seizures?" She hasn't had any fits that I've seen, no. She nodded again and closed her folder. She started to get up. Okay, last question. Has Tate been spending time with you? This kind of caught me off guard because there was no context, or at least not that I could see, reason to ask that. I mean, not really. We don't really do much together, if that's what you mean. She nodded. That isn't what I mean, but I'll figure it out. I'll see myself out. She walked towards the door before I could say anything, and then she left. This may seem like a dumb thing to read into, but something about the whole encounter didn't make any sense and seemed almost fake. If someone were to tell me that I dreamed the whole thing up, I think I'd believe it. The only reason I know I didn't is because Deborah left a business card on the table and told me to tell my mom to call her new number at some point. Not sure if I mentioned that, but that isn't important. That was earlier today. I have to leave soon to run an errand, but I can't get all of this out of my head. I know this isn't very scary, and that could be because my writing is taking a hit because of how out of it I am, but I assure you, I have not felt more unsafe in my life than I do in my own home right now. Edit. After taking another look at the comments on part 1, I've decided that after my errand today, I'll try to communicate with Tate. What's the worst that could happen? Edit 2. Hey everyone, the post got taken down because I posted it within 24 hours of the other one, but now it's about 11:30 p.m. so it should stay up. Lucky for me, the time it was taken down gave me the opportunity to talk to Tate, or at least try to. After I got the notification that my post had been removed, I set my laptop aside for the rest of the day. I did take some of your comments to heart, and because of that, I told Tate's aide to head home early, giving me an opportunity to be alone in the house with her for about 40 minutes. By then, I had formed some of my own theories as to what was going on and how I should approach the situation. I scampered into the back room of the house where Tate likes to spend the majority of her day, and found her hunched over her table of toys, slamming her hands randomly on light-up buttons and switches. The second she heard me clear my throat, she stopped. I felt sick, like I was going to have a heart attack and throw up all at once. She turned to face me, staring directly at me. The second her eyes met mine, I smelled that stench once more. It smelled like death, or what I would imagine death would smell like. She smiled when she saw the look of disgust on my face. I drew in a sharp breath. Why? She seemed caught off guard by my sudden attempt at communication, and a look of confusion flashed on her face, She seemed to think for a moment, and then she smiled again. You know why? I recoiled at the sound of her voice. It was a sound I'd never heard before, and it wasn't what I expected. I expected her to sound, well, for the lack of a better word, normal. She sounded like someone was making her swallow gravel every time she spoke. I honestly was at a loss for words. The longer I stood by her, the longer that smell assaulted my nose, the more familiar it felt. I knew that smell, but I didn't. It almost felt like deja vu, but for something that may not have actually happened. Are you ready? Her voice broke my train of thought. Confused, I returned with a quiet, for what? She rolled her eyes. Come on, it's better to go early than late. They'll let you go through quicker if you don't finish out your full term. I have no idea what she meant, and I've been thinking about it since we spoke. I was about to answer her and ask what she meant when the kitchen door opened and my father walked in. Tate instantly hunched over again and went back to mindlessly slapping her toys, and the smell disappeared. Like I said, it's late now, much past 9 p.m., and Tate hasn't visited me tonight. Maybe she knows the things she said to me were haunting me enough to give her a night off from doing it herself. Well, I hope she enjoys her sleep, because I know I won't. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. And hit that notification button so you can receive all my latest content. If you have any stories you would like me to read, send them to CREEPYXMALEVOLENT@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.